The rain hit the grocery store parking lot with a violence that felt personal, like the sky itself had decided that tonight would be the night everything finally crashed down on Claire Turner. She stood beside her old silver sedan, its hood steaming, the engine clicking out its last breath. Her hands trembled as she held her thin jacket tightly around her, staring at the smoke rising into the cold night air. She had no money left for repairs, no family to call, and no one in this small town in Ohio who even knew her well enough to ask if she was okay. For a long moment, she convinced herself she could handle it alone, but deep down, she felt the weight of the truth she'd been running from for years. She was drowning, and she didn't know how to reach out for help. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of good people still existing in this world, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps stories like this alive. Claire wiped her eyes and bent over the open hood, hoping that something, anything, would magically fix itself. But she wasn't a mechanic. She wasn't even sure she was still the strong woman she used to be. She had come to this town for a fresh start after leaving a painful past behind in Tennessee, hoping to build a quiet life for her daughter, Harper. Yet the move had drained her savings faster than expected. She picked up extra shifts at a diner, skipped meals to save money, and kept a smile plastered on her face so her little girl wouldn't see her fear. But tonight, for the first time in months, the weight felt heavier than she could carry. As she stood there shivering, she noticed a man about her age pushing a cart toward a black pickup truck parked 2 spaces over. He had a little girl beside him, maybe 7, with curly hair bouncing as she hopped along. The man glanced toward Claire, taking in the steam, the rain, the panic in her eyes. She straightened immediately, pretending she had everything under control. But he didn't look away. Instead, he paused, studying the scene with quiet familiarity, as though he recognized something in her struggle. The little girl tugged his sleeve, and he whispered to her before guiding her into the truck. Then he walked toward Claire, hands tucked in his jacket pockets, rain dripping from his dark hair. Claire's first instinct was to wave him off. She'd done everything alone for so long that the idea of someone stepping in felt almost frightening. But before she could speak, the man, whose warm, steady voice contrasted the tense moment, simply said, "Looks like your engine overheated. Mind if I take a look?" She hesitated, teeth chattering from the cold and the rising embarrassment forming in her chest. Every part of her wanted to say no, that she could handle it. But her silence was enough. The man lifted the hood with practiced ease and leaned over the engine. His name was Marcus Hayes, a single dad who had been raising his daughter, June, on his own for 4 years. He knew the signs of someone struggling, not because they were weak, but because they had been strong alone for too long. He could hear it in Claire's uneven breaths, see it in the forced calmness she was trying so hard to maintain. After a few minutes, he stepped back and explained that the engine wasn't ruined, but it wouldn't make it far tonight. He told her gently that she wasn't going to get home safely driving it in this condition. She tried to laugh it off, her voice breaking as she insisted she'd figure it out, but Marcus shook his head softly. It wasn't a judgment, just a recognition. And then he said the sentence that made Claire's entire facade crumble. "I've been there too." The words hit harder than the rain, because they weren't pity, they were understanding, real, human understanding. Claire swallowed the lump in her throat as he told her how he had once stood in a parking lot, not unlike this one, holding a baby in one arm while his life fell apart in the other. How he had refused help until a stranger looked him in the eye and told him he didn't have to do everything alone. Claire's tears finally spilled, mixing with the rain on her cheeks. Marcus offered to give her and Harper a ride home. She tried to decline, but he gently insisted that it wasn't charity, just one parent helping another. When she nodded, relieved and exhausted, he walked with her to the car to grab Harper's booster seat and the grocery bag containing the cheap cereal and frozen vegetables she had picked for the week. When Harper peeked out from under Claire's umbrella with wide eyes, Marcus smiled and told her that June would be happy to have a friend to ride with. The drive was quiet but warm, filled with soft conversation and the calming presence of someone who didn't push, judge, or pry. Marcus asked nothing personal, shared only what made Claire feel less alone, and kept his tone steady and reassuring. When they reached her small apartment complex, he carried her groceries to the door and scribbled his number on a scrap of receipt paper, telling her to call if she ever needed help, not because she owed him anything, but because he genuinely understood the loneliness of carrying everything on your own shoulders. Days passed, and Claire found herself replaying the moment in the parking lot over and over. She didn't want to be a burden, but the truth was she needed support, even just a friend who understood. She gathered the courage to call him about the car, and Marcus came by after work to help her get it to a small mechanic he trusted. Over the next weeks, he checked in occasionally, not overstepping, just reminding her that she wasn't invisible. Their kids became inseparable, and slowly, Claire let herself breathe for the first time in a long while. Then one Sunday afternoon, while Harper and June were drawing with chalk on the sidewalk, Claire found herself telling Marcus everything she had been holding inside, the job struggles, the loneliness, the fear of failing her daughter, and he listened with a patience that made her feel safe enough to be vulnerable. For the first time, Claire realized that accepting help didn't make her weak, it made her human, and that sometimes the right people come into your life not to fix everything but to remind that you never had to survive alone. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us bring more emotional, inspiring stories to life. Before we end, tell us in the comments, have you ever met someone who helped you when you needed it most?